This is Athena Jezik, and for this video we're going to be doing a little instructional work and explanation on a face massage. Just some work to loosen up the face. Sometimes the jaw area is tight. Sometimes we start to kind of pull our brow up or frown or make some kind of facial expressions that almost like freeze in time and kind of holds in its place, and it's hard to undo after we spend hours with a stressed up face. I know sometimes I catch myself doing that, and when I realize that I let my face go, and it almost is difficult to let it relax. But the jaws are one of the areas that does bring a lot of tension into it, so we'll work with that and see what else we can come up with. Of course, my eyes are looking here at the alignment of Karina and realizing that some cranial sacral work is probably due. There's a little bit of misalignment on her chin and nose, and we've realized that there's been an accident falling on her head. So we would need to work with there's something going on at the sphenobasilar junction and probably at the nasal bones, but we'll do that at another time. So you can get a good idea of what's happened to a person when you look from the top down at their face, and you can also get an idea where their alignment is by where the chin sets up. And she's just a little bit over. She's gotten herself, I think, a little more corrected than when we had started this back a while ago, but there's still a little deviation there. So if you just observe the person that you're working on and see what's happening there, you can get an idea what's going out, where the alignment might need to take place. So to begin with, I don't like to put a lot of oil on a person's face, so what I do is I just put it on my fingertips, just a drop or two, and get it on the fingertips. So it's enough so that you're not going to pull the skin off their face, and enough to give it enough slip. And sometimes you need a little bit more. I think I need another drop. I'll just do that. Oops. And of course, for the face, you want to be sure that you're using really nice oil, or even lotion. And again, with lotion though, you don't want the kind that soaks in real fast, because then you end up having to apply more and more, and it actually gets to be kind of annoying after a while to have to do that. So I start out when I'm just working with more of a muscle type work with the forehead, and just work up and down and moving a little bit out each time so that you cover the whole area. I've been working with my hands for so long that I like to be very, very thorough in getting the origins and somewhat insertions, but covering a lot of area, not just doing a little bit, but really getting it covered, being very thorough. And those of you that are in practice, it's going to be your attention to the origins and insertions and getting into all of the muscles that are easy to palpate, and the rest of the area to be very thorough. That's going to give your practice much better results. People like that a lot better. They feel like something's incomplete when that's not happening. Now here I'm just getting down into the area of the jaw. Now there's an area right here that's the temple, and that's where the sphenoid bone is. You want to be very, very gentle. I basically avoid that area completely when I'm working a little more pressure. It's a delicate spot, and if you work it too hard, you do run the risk of moving that sphenoid bone a little off the base. So go underneath it, then you're getting into the cheekbone, the it's called the zygomatic arch in this area, and you can even kind of massage underneath it. Feels like there's a little kind of a hollow space there that's underneath that cheekbone, and with your fingertips just pressing in and making little circular motions. Again, be very careful not to drive your finger in as if it were a nail going through some wood. You want to just get to where there's a resistance from the person's cheek muscles, facial muscles, just enough resistance there where you feel like you're engaged with that muscle, and then doing some circular work. You can get with your fingers a little bit. Your fingers will get a little more nimble. If you play the piano or work with your fingers in any way, you'll have a little more dexterity. You type at the computer, you might have a little more dexterity than somebody who doesn't work with their hands, but it doesn't mean that you can't achieve some good work if you just take time to pay attention to what's going on. Here in the bridge of the nose. Now, when you get around the eyes, the thumbs, you want to just go along the orbit. There's like where the eye sockets, that hole, if you look at a skeleton skull, you want to just go on the edge of that bone and work outward. Stretch, and then here you want to bring it a little up. Now, it looks like I'm going across this. This is where the sphenoid bone is, the temple, and I'm coming pretty close into it, but I'm still below it. I'm still on a ridge of a bone. There feels like a little soft spot where the sphenoid bone, where the wing of the sphenoid bone is. That's the spot that I hold an awful lot when I'm doing cranial sacral work. But here we're just going to go along the orbit and staying in that orbit, or coming back into the facial piece that's below the sphenoid bone. Sometimes I get some of the muscles and that a little confused. It's been a long time since I've had to really name muscles. I have the image of anatomy so well placed in my head that the labels that we call these things have escaped me in a lot of cases, so I may stutter a little bit to remember it or mispronounce, and just ask for understanding in that capacity. I usually work pretty quiet. I'm not talking a whole lot, and I'm certainly not talking about what muscles I'm on if I am talking to the client on the table, so it's easy to lose that data. And with this work, it's really not so important to know every muscle of the body or all of that. It's their names. It's much more important to know where they are located, where they're connecting into, and what they feel like, and what is happening to them, and how to help them to correct. That is far more important in the work than just naming a bunch of muscles and bones. Although that has its place, it's not the most paramount thing. And the ears, you can just take the little, it's a little kind of a, not really pinching, but it's where you're rolling the ear with the thumb and the forefinger, with the index finger. And then down into the cheek, drawing the chin. Now there again, there's a bone. It's the underneath side of the jaw. It's softer on the inside. That's where the sublingual area is. So you don't really want to get into that area, but stay on the bone attachments. Now, I did say earlier in another video that you don't want to necessarily be on the bone to do massage, and that's really true. But in this case, what we're doing is we're working where there's attachments, so we're going to go along the bone to get the attachments. You don't want to do that with a lot of pressure. You want to just make sure that the attachments are not being pulled too tight so that they can relax and they can do an efficient job of their range of motion. So that's what's happening here. Then here the jaw makes a little bit of a turn, and in that area where it's turning, in that little corner, it's nice to just do some rotative things here as well. So basically, this is just to soften the face and to give some relaxation. There's not a whole lot. I mean, there's just so much you can really do in any kind of work. So the important thing to remember, especially if you're in practice, is just find something that works for you and play with it a little bit, and remember the things of keeping things on the lighter side rather than the heavy side, at least until you get to know what your hands are doing and what they're on, what muscle or structure that they're on. And here are just some head rotations where I'm just picking up, I'm holding very steadily in the back of the head and then allowing the neck to turn. You can tell a lot by doing this as well. You can tell where there's restriction, because the tendency is when the neck doesn't want to turn, people will hold it, they'll stop it, they'll be involved in not staying relaxed and kind of putting a stop point on. That usually indicates that they're worried about pain happening or something going on. They're protecting their neck in some way. Okay. Well, of course, being a cranial person, I'm really bothered by this nose, so we'll have to take care of that at some other time. Thank you. Give me a thumbs up rating if you enjoy this, and thank you for your comments, and look forward to seeing you again.